This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. Okay, so it's Monday and that means we're taking a look at a solo, and the solo this week is, I think, an absolute belter, a real classic from the 70s by a very, very underrated guitar player, Mr. Andy Powell. Andy is the lead guitarist, still in a band called Wishbone, and in 1972 they brought out this album called Argus. And one of the huge tracks on that album is called Blowin, and this is the solo from that song, followed by a brief explanation of what's going on. Okay, let's see what we've got going on here. First of all, as always, by taking a look at the chord sequence, there it is right there on screen. And you can see there are only three chords in this: a D chord, a C chord, and a G chord. So the main, or like the first part of the chord sequence, we've got 2 bars of D, to a bar each of C and G, and then 2 more bars of D, and you go through that cycle 4 times. Then we're into the second half of the solo, where we've got some chords all played over a D bass note, starting with a D chord, to a C chord, and then a G chord, back to a D chord, and then a C chord, and then just into a full D chord. And if I can approximate that, that's the bit of the chord sequence that goes like this. That part. So what's going on here is very much we've got the tonality of a D major chord, but we're using chords from somewhere other than the key of D. Basically, a G chord, a C chord, and a D chord are the 1, 4, and 5 chords in the key of G. And if you are in the key of G, but you are focusing on the 5 chord in that key, the D chord, then, as my fellow theory nerds will tell you, that is the D Mixolydian mode. So that's what's going on in the chord sequence. Now let's have a look at what notes are being played over the top of it. This is the total note content for the solo. You can see D, E, F, F sharp, G, A, B, C, and D. Okay. Now you can kind of carve that bunch of notes up in a number of different ways, and it kind of gives you an insight into the way that the guy was thinking, Andy Powell was thinking when he was playing this solo. If you take these notes, you can see that's giving you a D minor pentatonic. If you take these notes, you can see that is a D major pentatonic. If you take these notes, that can be viewed as being the D Mixolydian mode that we were talking about earlier, just the notes which are, you know, kind of native to that mode. And then if you take the F sharp note and move it down to the F, which you're getting from the D minor pentatonic, then you have the D Dorian mode. And, you know, you can see little fragments of those scales all kind of coming into play throughout the solo. So what I'm going to do now is basically break the solo down into a number of chunks and just give you a bit of an overview of each one. We start with just some D major pentatonic stuff down here that's basically like this. And then that kind of thing. That's how we open the solo. And then we're up into this part of the neck here for a little while with a little lick that utilises D minor and D major pentatonics. D minor pentatonic here would look like this. D major would look like this. Oops. Excuse me. So those are the two scales, and we're basically getting this note from the minor pentatonic to this note from the major. This one's common to both. This one's from the major pentatonic, and then these two are common to both. And it's a really, really kind of almost cliched little rock and roll blues lick. Like that. Then we're into just a fair old bit of position 1 D minor pentatonic stuff here, like. Then a bit of bendy stuff on this string here. That kind of thing that I forget exactly what it was played, but you know, it's basically just he's just kind of riffing in D minor pentatonic to give that kind of bluesy sort of sound over the D major tonality backing. After that, we scoot up to this area of the neck here. Let me turn around so you can see a little bit clearer. There we go. We're up to this area of the neck here for these kind of. And what's going on here, let's just kind of have an overview of the scales. Again, D minor and D major pentatonics. D major pentatonic would be using this position here. And D minor pentatonic would be this position. And, you know, we've got a bunch of licks happening here. Largely, a lot of them based around this bend here in this major pentatonic pattern, which you can bend either up to the next note of the major pentatonic, like that, bending the E up to the F sharp, or you can do what he does when he arrives up here, which is to just bend it up to the F in the D minor pentatonic. So that would be, let me find it on the tab, yeah. That kind of thing. Just taking your time, crawling that note up just a semitone, it's really effective. Then a few more kind of bits and pieces around that sort of thing there. And then what he does is, remember this motif from earlier? That kind of thing. He returns to it up here, an octave higher. That kind of thing there. So it's kind of going back to an earlier idea. Whether that was planned or whether it was just something he did intuitively, I don't know. But it's certainly effective, and it's something that you can learn to do in your own solos. If you start off with a really strong melodic hook or motif, like that, go back to it later on in the solo, either in the same octave or, as he does here, an octave higher. There's one other little lick up here that I want to draw to your attention, which is quite clever. It took me a little while to figure this one out because it goes like... What's happening here is we're doing essentially a D minor pentatonic run, like that, and then we finish that part of the run on this F note here, and then he goes to the F note, the same note on the next string down, on the B string. So you get... that. Or something like that. I can't remember whether it's that note or that note. But basically, that's the crux of that lick. That note there is also there, and that's how he uses to cross from one string to another. And then, as I say, a little bit more of that kind of bendy stuff up in this pattern 4 of D major, pattern 3 of D minor. Let's look at the patterns again. Here they are. Here's the D major. Here's the D minor. There we go, and just kind of weaving those shapes in and out of each other. And then we're into the final part of the solo where we've got that chord sequence, you know, the this one. That thing there that I mentioned earlier. And what he's doing is he's actually using that kind of chord riff, and he's kind of doing a sort of a call and response thing with it, because we start with that there. Just don't know whether that's an accidental open string or he hits it on purpose, but it's certainly there. And then bending this C note again here, again thinking in terms of D minor pentatonic, bending this C note here up very, very, very slowly up to the D, so you get like that. And you'll listen, if you listen to the solo, you'll notice that when he's doing that, because there's a few of these kind of just crawling up to pitch sort of bends, if you listen carefully, you'll hear that he's kind of taking the bend up and then adding the vibrato once it's kind of at pitch. It's a very effective technique. And then we've got a little D major pentatonic lick. Just a straight ahead run up a D major pentatonic scale. Next up we have, again, another major pentatonic lick. Let me just have a look at the tab. That's something like that. That sort of thing there. And again, you can see just straight ahead D major pentatonic. Then the penultimate lick in the solo is, again, we're playing sort of, as I say, call and response to that chord riff that's going on, and we once again mix D major and D minor pentatonics. This note here, this B note, is from the D major pentatonic, and then all of the rest of the notes in this lick are from the D minor. Like that. Another bluesy little trope that's going on here is when you are on the F note, the minor third of D minor pentatonic, just bend it slightly sharp. Like that, so you can hear how that immediately gives you a bluesier sound than if I was just to go, that's fine, but this sounds bluesy. And then we encounter that same thing again on the final lick of the solo, where it goes, again, there's the F note there, 13th fret on the top E string, and there's that kind of slightly bluesy half bend. Culminating on the D note as the vocals re-enter for the next verse of the song. And that is what's going on in this rather fantastic classic solo from the 70s. And as always, my wonderful, wonderful Patreon supporters can download the full tab for that solo in both PDF and Guitar Pro formats, along with the jam track to play along with, and that little clip of me demonstrating and explaining the solo. It's up there on my Patreon page, or it will be by the time this video hits YouTube. And it's only $3 a month, and you get all of these extra lesson resources. Gotta be a bargain, hasn't it? So thank you if you are supporting me on Patreon. Thank you in advance if you're thinking about doing it, or if you want other ways that you can support the channel. Just check out the links in the description box below. It would be much appreciated. Thank you very much. And with that, that's pretty much all I've got for you today. Hope you've enjoyed the video, found it useful and informative, and if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you've not already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. I'll just mention as well that come Friday, I know it's a long way off at the moment, but Friday 5 PM UK time, as I'm sure most of you who are regular viewers to this channel know, we have a live stream 5 PM UK time. It's just a bunch of middle-aged men sitting around drinking beer and talking about guitars and middle-aged man sort of stuff. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, I think, and I'd love to see many of you there. So with that, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you for watching. Thank you so much for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.